Welcome back to the On to Purpose Over Paycheck podcast. Ooh, did you like that? That was my little jingle that I just came up with. All right, friends, welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Troy. I am giving you the inside journey of what I'm going through because I did leave my $85,000 career in education on December 19th of 2025 to begin moving into becoming a full-time life coach and to embrace it and move forward with what I call the purpose over paycheck. Creating the space and the new identity of who I am, because after the last 2 decades, I have been someone else's identity, and they've been telling me how to do my schedule and when I can and can't take vacation and all that stuff. So that's what this whole podcast is based about. It's based on my journey of shifting from that old structure into the new structure that I'm creating. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today's episode is called Letting Go of Who You Used to Be Good at Being. And this one, I don't know. And this is one of the quietest, most emotional part of change. Okay? Letting go of who you used to be good at being. This one's the quietest one and the most emotional part of change. Because when you shift your life, you just don't leave behind jobs or roles. You leave behind versions of yourself that once made you feel compatible, respected, and safe. So when you shift, when you're making a shift in your life, you just don't leave behind your job or roles. You are also leaving behind the version of yourself that once made you feel compatible or capable, respected, and safe. A lot of people think growth is only about becoming. But growth is also about grieving. Grieving about the identity that worked. Grieving about the praise you used to receive. Grieving about the sense of competency you once had. Because those things mattered. And letting them go doesn't mean they weren't real. Okay? Having the identity that worked, the praise that you used to receive, the sense of being competent that you once used to possess, they all matter. But letting them go doesn't mean that they were not real at one time. When you are good at something, you knew how to move in that world. You knew how to succeed. You knew how to be valued. You knew how to belong. But when that identity no longer fits, there's a feeling of being unanchored. Not because you lost your worth, but because you lost a familiar way to experience it. And this often is the phase where people will go back to the old identity. They will go back to the old identity because the old life was aligned. All right? Well, it really wasn't aligned. Let me correct that. They'll go back not because the old life was aligned, but because it was familiar. Because everything was so familiar. Because being good at something feels safe. Being new at something feels exposed. It might even cause that imposter syndrome. But going back doesn't bring peace. It brings a quiet sense of shrinkage. So letting go doesn't mean erasing. You don't have to pretend that the old version of you didn't matter, because it really did matter. because that person got you here, survived what you needed to survive, and built the foundation of what you're becoming. So don't reject it. What you need to do is integrate it. That old self that got you here, that survived what you needed to survive, that built the foundation for what you're becoming, don't reject it. You need to integrate it. And one of the hardest parts of change is being a beginner again. It's the hard part is because you're not knowing, not being polished, not being oppressive yet. And that phase, this phase isn't failure. This is the fertile ground. This is the new fertile ground that you're working with. This is the new fertile ground that you're going to be planting your ideas, your potentials. This is where the new identity starts to take root. It's because you're on fertile ground, the new fertile ground. This is where the new identity starts to root. If you're listening and you're missing who you used to be, let me tell you something. You're not betraying your past by outgrowing it. What you're doing is you're honoring it by allowing it to become something new. You're honoring it by allowing it to become something new. You don't lose your value when you release your old identity. No, you don't lose any of that. You make room for a truer one. Okay, you make room for a truer one. And you can be grateful for what you had, but still know it's time to move on. You can be grateful for that old identity, what it had, but it's time to move on, right? You still know it's time to move on. You can miss who you were, but you still choose who you're becoming. Those feelings don't cancel each other out. They belong together. Okay, they belong together. So when you're not one version of yourself, you are a living process. Okay, you're not a one version of yourselves. I tell people that there are there are infinite versions of yourself out in the universe that are waiting for you to give them permission in order for them to step forward and you start to embody them. You start to integrate them into the identity that you currently are. There are so many identities out there of you. There are so many versions, infinite versions of you out there, both the ones that have what they want to the ones that don't have what they want. They're all out there. And they're just waiting for you to give permission to that one identity or several to come in. You open the aligned door, you allow them in, and you integrate them, you embody them, and they start to manifest and create. Right? Because it's a living process. And letting go of who you were good at being is not a loss. It's more of an invitation to become good at something that fits you now. All right? So instead of asking, why am I not as good as I used to be? Reframe that question to this. What am I learning to be good at now? Because that shift changes everything. When you shift that question from why I'm not good as I used to be, change it to what am I learning to be good at now? There's a lot. There's a lot that happens with that. And that's where the reframing comes in. That's where you have to sit and you have to really sit with that and process it. And again, it goes down to the different versions. You can tell yourself you're learning to become this new version of yourself, that you've opened the aligned door, allowed this new identity to step through that door. You're integrating it and embodying it into the current identity that you are, making that shift and happening it. This is what I'm learning. I'm learning how to channel myself into being more calm and using the space. I'm learning to understand my nervous system and how it rolls and how it works when it comes to this whole new plan out of what I'm planning to do. You're learning a lot of that, right? That's where the growth happens. Remember, growth is a process. You're on new fertile ground, friend. You are on new fertile ground, and you're taking root on this new ground based on this new path that you are taking, right? The purpose over paycheck. You're creating all of this. You're starting to build and you're understanding it. And there's times that it is scary as hell, and there are times that it's like you get excited and you're like, yes, you can feel it. You're going to go through that, and that's okay. Because that's the thing, is that's all part of the growth process. That's how we grow. That's how this plan works out. And it's okay. But you just need to tell yourself, what am I learning to be good at now? I'm learning to be really good at making a manifestation test the universe videos. That's one thing I'm starting to learn that I'm really good at. I'm learning to good at how to manage this need of external validation to just, hey, this is what I do. This is who I'm becoming. I'm learning how to manage my emotions. I'm learning how to embrace and integrate the new identity that I'm creating, that I've invited. I'm learning how to identify the different infinite identities out there and knowing which ones I'm going to invite to come in and be part of who this new being is, right? Through this work. So you don't have to let go of everything. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You don't have to be ashamed of it. You just need to integrate it. Because that was you at one time, and that's okay. That's the old version. The new version's here, 2.0. Maybe it's for you, it's 5.0, right? We're always getting updates. We are always getting updates on our technology. But the problem is when do we start updating us? When do we start updating our identity software? And this is what we're doing. This is where I've started my journey. December 19th, 2025, my new identity software was available and I've upgraded. I've updated it. And now here is version 2.0. And there's a potential that 2.0 may be here for a year. It may be here for several years because 3.0 is on its way. 3.0 is on its way. Because this shift that I have embraced has started to change everything. All right. Whew, that was a deep one. In our next episode, we're going to talk about staying with the process when no one is watching and how quiet consistency becomes the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. That's going to be in our next episode. All right, as always, if this episode resonated with you, please make sure that you are following and make sure you are giving us a rating and sharing it out with family and friends, colleagues, or whoever needs to hear this episode or needs to hear this podcast. Make sure you're sharing it out there as well. Always remember that you can check out my website. It has everything there. It is the link is in the show notes. It's the little link that highlights that says I think it says onto Purpose over podcast website. I don't know how the different platforms have it. I know Apple has it, iHeartRadio, and of course Spotify. You'll find the link. Click that, it'll take you to my link tree. There you'll see the 3 ebooks that I have available for purchase. They are published. Really good resources for you to doing this work. I'm going from there. I do have a masterclass coming up here soon, so that is in the works as well. And then the development of a membership site, that will be coming to you soon as well, and that'll probably be available by the end of January. I'm really working on trying to get it as soon as possible because I want to start doing some more work. But that's going to be a membership site where you can sign up and become a member, and you'll have access to group coaching as well as bonuses. Sometimes even potentially earning or winning, one-on-one coaching with me. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. And so that website will be coming up here soon, that new membership website that's in the development. All right. One thing I want you to remember, you don't lose yourself when you change. You meet a deeper version of yourself. You don't lose yourself when you change. You start to meet a deeper version of who you are. All right, friend, as I always say, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hitting that play button today, being courageous and hitting that play button. And know that I love you and I am grateful for you, and I will talk to you soon.